Hello, I am Mrs. English, and I am going to be going over my classroom management plan for my English 2 and College Prep English 2 courses for this year. So before I begin, let me show you the topics that I will be covering. I will be talking about my philosophy, our learning goals, the classroom setup, the rules and expectations, my cell phone policy, my behavior plan, and my communication preferences for the year. So first, before you dive into my class, I want you to know a little bit about me. I started off with a Bible verse from 1 Corinthians 12, 4 through 6, that says, "There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone, it is the same God at work." I chose this verse to put on my philosophy slide because I believe the following statements. School is for all students. All students are unique with different interests, abilities, and backgrounds. All students have a place in the body of Christ, and all students deserve a chance at success. All students can develop a growth mindset, and all students should have a sense of agency over their own learning. No matter who you are, what your learning style is, where you come from, I want you to know that you have a place in my class, and I believe that you can learn. And wherever you're starting from, I believe that we can make a lot of progress throughout the year. So our goals for English class this year, first of all, we want to work on our reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills as outlined in the New Jersey Common Core Standards. That is something you probably expected. But some other things that we will be working on this year may not be as apparent, such as building soft skills like critical thinking, your creativity, being able to collaborate with others, self-regulate, identify your morality and your emotional literacy. We are going to also be working on growing empathy and understanding what it is to be human through the books that we are reading in class. We will be deeply discussing our 4 novels. We also will want to embrace our Phillipsburg High School diversity by learning from our peers with different backgrounds, cultures, experiences, and interests. So when you walk into my English classroom, you will see that you will start off in a traditional seating arrangement. Desks are in rows. The teacher desk and the board are in the front. And we start class off like that so that you can sit, hear what we are going to do for the day. I'll go over what you can expect, what I expect from you that day. And a lot of times we will then move. So sometimes we will move into a stadium type seat, as you can see in the image there. Especially when we do plays like Julius Caesar. That's a great way for us to sit and act out the play. A lot of times we will be doing groups, or you might be moving the pairs. So since we have the desk with the wheels, that makes it very easy for us to move. And you will have assigned groups. Sometimes I'll let you pick the groups, but that's where you will probably be doing the majority of your classwork. And then at the end of the class period, we move the desk back to the traditional seating, and I can go over with you what I want you to know wrapping up with class and what you can expect to work on the next day. So some rules and expectations I have for class, you will see that the class is very focused on teamwork. I want you to learn a lot from each other. We will have a lot of discussion, a lot of group work. So I expect students to follow the following guidelines. Everyone should feel welcome, and everyone should contribute to everyone else feeling welcome. That's your rule in this class. Mutual respect is required. We might be very different in a lot of ways, but we all have lives that are valuable and worthy of respect. So I expect to see that. I also encourage students to have a voice in their own learning. You're in 10th grade, you are only a few years from being a legitimate adult, and you need to be able to speak for yourself and make choices that will help you learn. So I encourage you to ask questions and give feedback to your classmates throughout the year. I also, this is a very important one, I also expect that all individuals will feel safe, and I say both physically and emotionally. If I see that someone is not feeling safe emotionally because of another student, then that needs to be addressed immediately. In our class also, growth is celebrated. it doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you can get to by the end of the year. So we celebrate any time we see student growth in this classroom. And last but not least, I expect that time is used wisely. I do not assign homework, but you may have homework if you are wasting the time in class that I'm giving you. So homework is only expected if you are absent and need to make something up, or if you've wasted your class time. So before I get into what my cell phone and technology use policy is, I wanted to first go over why there is a policy. I think a lot of you realize at this point that phones and other technologies can be really good, really beneficial, or they can also be really negative and really harmful. I listed a few things on this slide to point out to you that positive benefits are the increased access to information. We have tools like camera and audio. It allows you to communicate with maybe your parents or at home, gives you a sense of safety being able to do that. But also, there's a lot of negative impacts. If you do your research, you will see that cell phone use can result in increased addictive and avoidance behavior, increased risk of depression and anxiety. There can be inappropriate sharing that shouldn't be going on without someone's consent. There's a lot of instances of cyberbullying and other things that happen with social media. And of course, it can be really distracting, and then you have decreased school performance because of that. So all of these things pointed out, it is so necessary that we learn, both adults and students, to create good digital habits for ourselves that will help us to be successful in this class, but also in life. So that being said, this year, what I hope to accomplish is to find a balance with our technology use where we can use the positives of our technology in class, but also minimize the negatives. So here are some expectations with that. First, I will be telling you and encouraging you to keep phones and smartwatches set to do not disturb. We'll also be talking about some different focus apps that you can put on your Chromebooks to keep you focused on the task at hand and not get distracted clicking on other tabs or doing other things. Phones and Chromebooks should stay in your bags. They shouldn't be on your desk when we start class. I'll go over what we're doing in class, and when appropriate, I'll tell you to pull out your Chromebook or to pull out a phone if we're using them that day. Per school policy, I expect Chromebooks will be in class and they'll be charged, ready to go. Another thing is that phones must be out of sight when we are doing something like a test or a quiz. You will be allowed to use the phone holders at the front of the classroom if you just want to make sure it's not a distraction, or you can keep it in your bag. But if I see a phone out during a test or a quiz, it's an automatic 0. So please keep that in mind. And last but not least, if you are someone who really struggles with the phone policy, if you are just so connected to your phone that it's hard for you to keep the phone away, and I need to remind you multiple times, I will be reaching out to parents via email at different times during the school year just to let them know that, hey, like your child's having a lot of problems staying off the phone. Maybe then the parent could address this at home and see if there's any strategies that they could go over with their son or daughter to help them to keep the phone away and stay focused in class. We've gone over my class expectations and my cell phone and technology use policy. So at this point, I want to talk about my behavior plan. First of all, if you have something very serious going on in your life, a breakup, a death in the family, an illness, if something is going on that makes it so you don't think you can come to class and do what you're supposed to do, it's best to talk to me before class. Let me know what's going on, and if you need to then go see a counselor or someone else who could better support you during that period, we will make that decision together. Otherwise, if you come to class and you can't uphold the classroom expectations, this is what you can expect to happen. First, there would be a verbal warning. Second, if it continues, I would pull you into the hallway or talk to you after class, and we'd have more of a one-on-one conversation about what's going on and how we can stop that behavior. Next, if it continues, I will reach out to parents either through email or I would give a phone call. If it continues, then it's a write-up to a principal or a counselor or a specialist, depending on the situation and what would be most appropriate. And then if it continues past that, past the write-up, then we would have a meeting together where the parents, administrators, counselors, specialists, we can meet with the student and figure out the best plan moving forward to eliminate that behavior and help that student and all of the other students to learn their best in class. I would skip all of these steps if there's an immediate threat to emotional or physical safety, or if a student is so disruptive that the class can't learn, in which case security would be called and the student would be removed. However, in any case, we all have bad days. We all make bad choices sometimes. The next day, you can still come to class and we start again with a clean slate. I don't hold grudges and I appreciate when students don't either. So we can start again, no matter what happens. Finally, how do I communicate with students or parents? Well, first of all, if you have anything that you want to say to me or you want to know about or any questions that you have, I want to hear from you. So you can email me, you can call my room extension, you can catch me in the hallway between classes. But whatever it is, please reach out to me whatever way you feel comfortable. And if I can't talk to you that minute, we will make sure we set up a time in the near future to talk. A few communication things you will receive from me. I do email grade sheets home to parents and students at mid-marking period and at the end of marking period. If you check Genesis, you already will see all the grades, but I like to send it home just to keep people on track who are not following grades. Sometimes I'll email about the books that we're starting or reminders about major assignments. These are just FYI emails. And also, I want to point out sometimes I will email or call home if a student does something noteworthy or positive. So I just want to throw that out there. If you see the school is calling or you have an email from me, it is not always a negative thing. Sometimes I do reach out just to let parents know that they should be proud of their kids. Finally, these are the references that I had throughout the presentation. This is the research that I used to support my points. If you would like to look into any of these sources further, and there is another slide after this, feel free to pause and take this information down. And here is my second slide of sources. So again, feel free to pause if you want to look into any of these sources further. Thank you so much for listening to my classroom management plan presentation. I am looking forward to a great school year.